Welcome to our podcast, Inspiring Living, with me, Mark Candelaria. I am an architect, blogger, traveler, chef, father, and husband. I am the founder and now a partner of a fabulous 20-person architecture firm specializing in high-end residential architecture, designing amazing homes across the country. Over the last 20 years, we have hosted tours to Italy, Spain, and soon the Oregon wine country. And in the course of all this, I have met a lot of interesting people who truly inspire me. Our podcast is about all the opportunities that are right there in front of us to inspire living. Yes, we will talk about architecture and design, but every week we will venture into all sorts of topics that will inspire you, teach you, and motivate you to inspire living every day. My guests will include a wide gamut of amazing people, from those in the design industry to clients to real estate professionals, chefs, artists, sports figures, and philanthropists, and people who just flat out get it. Sit back and enjoy, and let's have some fun exploring all the opportunities that are just waiting for us. Please subscribe and get ready to be inspired every week. Okay, as my dad says, here we go. Welcome, everyone, and thank you always for tuning into our podcast. Okay, we are going to jump right into this podcast today, as it is sort of a bookend to the previous podcast where I took a look back at my first day of my architecture career back on March 4th, 1982 at George Christiansen's office, to where we are today, exactly 40 years later, here at Candelaria Design Associates. Yes, today is my 40th year anniversary of that first day on the job, and so check out that podcast. But today's podcast is shared with my partners who I'm with here today at Candelaria Design Associates, and we will look back at the journey since starting this firm in 1999 to where we are today, some 23 years later, and where we are heading. Okay, give both podcasts a listen, and for a quick look back at my 40-year career in architecture. Okay, here is the podcast with my 2022 partners here at Candelaria Design. Okay, so you heard my podcast of my first day at work 40 years ago at George Christiansen and Associates. I had Dianne Kleber, who was there my first day, and Brian Cassidy, who was also there my first day. And here I am 40 years, I was going to say 40 days, but it's 40 years later, and I'm sitting with my current partners some 40 years ahead in time. Now, I'm chatting with my fellow principals here at Candelaria Design. I've got Evelyn Jung, Meredith Thompson, and our newest addition, Mr. Tim Mathewson. Since founding this firm back in 1999, a lot has changed, both personally and professionally, as well as in the industry and the world in general. Change is one thing you can count on, and so far, people needing houses has thankfully been something I can count on too. Today, our firm has grown from just me working at my home office with my two dogs, Lulu and Nacho, to a gorgeous office in the heart of Scottsdale with 20 associates. Lulu actually ran away, so I'm not used to this whole resignation thing before. So it was good training right from the get-go. So anyway, I've got Meredith Thompson here.
Hi there.
How are you, Meredith?
I'm doing great.
Good. I've got Tim here.
Hi.
Tim Mathewson, and I've got Miss Evelyn, Miss E.
Hi.
How you doing? We got a little red wine pouring. It's on a Tuesday. We've all been working. It's like 6:30, almost 7 o'clock in the evening, and you guys are still at it.
Still at it.
Still at it with podcast time. So let's start by introducing ourselves and telling our listeners a little bit about where you're all from, and where you studied and how long you've worked here at Candelaria Design Associates. Let's start with Evelyn first.
Great. Okay. So I'm Evelyn Jung. I run the business aspect of the company, and I'm originally from Washington, but I moved here, and I was going to school at Arizona State for economics degree, and I got kind of busy here and decided to just keep moving here and going with Candelaria, and now I'm a partner. So I've been with Candelaria Design for 17 fast years. So
17 fast years. You started as
a temp,
right? And
Yep.
You can listen to her whole podcast. She has a great podcast that we recorded earlier.
It's kind of boring. So
No, it's
you're
not
good.
boring. It's fantastic. And so then, Tim, you were the next one here.
Yeah, I was going to school in Milwaukee, and Mark came to interview me on just sort of a career day, and seemed like it was a good fit. And 16 years later, still here, still at it.
Still you are. You're better than Lulu.
Poor Lulu.
What about you, Meredith?
Well, I grew up here and then went to school at Notre Dame, and after that worked in New York and San Francisco and was looking to move back here. where I found out more information on you and then knew it was the right fit. So moved back about 9 years ago and started up with you guys then.
So about 9 years ago already?
I think so.
Wow, that has gone by fast.
2013. What's the math?
That's
yeah.
9.
Yeah.
9 years already.
Like to this month.
Really? Is
yeah.
it this month?
Yeah.
Well, Friday is my 40th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
40 years of doing this. It's hard to imagine.
So talk to us about how you started at CCBG.
Well, I was going to school at ASU and got married. I was 19 or 20, somewhere in there. Doesn't matter.
So you were totally ready for marriage.
Totally ready. I got married, had to get a job. Got a job working at a Chef Steel, a subsidiary of Chef Steel, and was doing billboards and steel detailing. And they put a moratorium on billboards. And I had to find a job, and I saw an ad in the paper for George Christiansen. And I applied and started working there on March 4th, 1982. And by 1987, I was a partner in the firm.
Did you have an architecture background? Were you studying architecture? Or
I was in
yeah.
pre-architecture.
Okay.
I had not applied because it was like my second year of pre-architecture.
Yeah.
And so I always knew from the time I was 4 I wanted to be an architect.
You were passionate about it.
Oh, yeah. So when I got the opportunity to work for one of the professors, I thought, okay, I got the in now.
Yeah.
How did you get the job?
I they had an ad in the paper. I applied, and I didn't have a portfolio, so the night before I stayed up all night and out of my drafting table and just drew stuff out of my architecture book, put a portfolio together, walked in. I said, can we see some of your work? I laid out all my stuff. They said, what's this? And I didn't know what some of it was, but I said, I'm not really sure what this is.
You got to fake it until you make it.
These are all my drawings. I did draw all these, and I showed them some of my billboard steel detailing drawings and all that stuff. I said,
Which probably won them over.
I don't know. I think what actually won them over is when I said, well, I really want this job. And I said, what's the pay? And they said, well, we'll have to determine that once we kind of see what you can do. And I said, hey, I'll take this job and you can pay me whatever you want to pay me and I'm going to be happy. And that's when their eyes kind of lit up. And so I thought, I think I have a chance here.
We found our guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So 2 weeks later, Dianne called me on the phone and told me I had the job. And I think I started at $5.65 an hour, I think is what it was.
And the fact that you proved that you are a hard worker, obviously, stayed up the night before. I mean, they probably saw that.
I stayed up many nights after that, too,
Yeah.
working for them.
I'm surprised with
Tonight's
your
good.
sketching abilities, you didn't already have some sketchbooks that you could have shown them.
I did. I had some renderings and a few sketches, and I think that appealed to because George was a real sketcher. He loved hand drawings. And so I think the fact that I could do that really also appealed to them. So I think it was a combination of just a lot of things and obviously just a lot of good luck. I look back at my life and I think, what would have happened had I not gotten that job? I have no idea.
It opened up a lot of doors.
None of us would be here doing a podcast right now. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So, it was just one of those things that changed my whole direction on life. And I left the firm after about 6 months. I actually left and the two younger partners started their own firm. And I thought about going with them because I thought, this might be a great opportunity to get on the ground floor, learn how a new firm starts. And so I did that, worked for them about 6 months and went back. That never happens, right?
No. not with professional artists. No.
Yeah. So that's my story in a nutshell. And it, I look back on it and I found some pictures the other day of me in the old office that I'm going to post with this podcast. They're pretty hilarious. I had a full head of hair and no glasses, and so it'll be really interesting. So anyway, it's been an interesting path, and I look back at that first job with George Christiansen, and with the podcast with Brian and Dianne's a lot of fun. So we talked about the old days in the office on 24th Street in Campbell, which that building is still there. It's an old Lon McGargy, same guy who did lawns. It's an old Lon McGargy adobe house, and it's still there. You can drive by and still see it. Some handwriting analysis company that's been there for 20 years. They must be analyzing a lot of handwriting.
We have to reach out to them.
Yeah, maybe, right? But it's just hard to. It's neat to go by there because I drive down 24th Street quite often, and I just remember how many hours and moments I spent in that little building, and It's just it's kind of cool.
It was cool.
It's very cool. So in 2019, we started our expansion here. I first started the firm here in 1999. We should probably go back there before we start about the expansion.
Yeah.
But 1999, I started the firm. I had Lulu the dog and Nacho the dog, and we hung out. And my goal after leaving CCBG after 18 years was, I'm going to work a few hours a day, hang out by the pool, hang out with Nacho, go hike North Mountain. I used to live over there by Point Tapatio. I was like, this is going to be the life, man. I'm just going to take on a couple jobs and not overdo it. That lasted about 3 months. And I remember saying, I got to find some space. I got to find an office because I had drawings all over my house. It was a total disaster. It was people coming in and out, and I was like, I got to get out of here.
What an intimidating experience, because you're trying to get new space, but that's pretty permanent. That's a big leap.
That was scary. It was very scary to go from hanging out with two dogs to signing a rent.
You're like, now I've got to pay the rent.
Now
I've got to,
yeah. This is real now. And it was funny when I started looking for space. I talked to Fred Fleet. You guys all know Fred Fleet. Oh, Mark, I got some great space down on the 4th floor, over on 44th and Camelback. I'm thinking, 4th floor, Camelback, and 44th. That's going to be a spectacular view of.
Probably got a great view. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was the 4th floor of the basement.
Oh.
So I had to go downstairs, and I'm in this little back closet. I'm like, no, this won't work. And that's about the time when Margot Kessler called me and Barb Rossi and says, hey, we've got this cool little office space. Our partnership broke up, and we need to hand over the lease to somebody. Would you be interested? And that was the 12th Street in Highland. Was it Highland or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Highland.
Campbell.
Campbell.
No, it's 12th and Campbell. So it's just like the Christiansen office. Almost the same address. 44 something. It was crazy. It was like the same numbers. So I've always had these 4s in my numbers. What floor are we on here?
The 4th.
4th floor. What suite? 400.
Yeah.
And this is my 40th anniversary. See how these things all.
Is this just so we don't have to
cosmic.
change the stationery too much?
I guess so.
Just white out.
Keeps
one
those
thing.
costs down.
That's good.
So we were over at 12th Street and Campbell from 99 to 2014.
Was it 2014?
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
we
Man, I
moved
guess
here.
it
Because I came in at 2013 and we moved a year
Right
later.
after.
Right.
Let's talk about that space.
Well, let's talk about that space. That was quite a
man.
space. That was where you first started working. That's where you started.
Yeah.
All of us.
All
Yeah,
of you,
we
right?
all did.
Good memories at that space.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
The old Al Beetle building, so it was kind of cool.
It had
Eddie
some-
Jones was in there, Jack
It was
DeBartolo,
cool.
some good architects.
I feel like we were on top of each other, though.
We were.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like being in the minor leagues, and then now we're in the big leagues.
yeah.
Starting off
absolutely.
in that space, you get to know people quickly.
You're right.
Yeah,
because we were right on top
can't-
of each other. It was
you can't
fun.
Not
it was
like anybody in
yeah.
that space.
It was fun.
A lot of fun. And then we moved here, and we had the space. We basically doubled the size a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, we did. And it's just funny because, we didn't really need to double the size in the original space because of how it was laid out in the old space. We just kind of started with a blank canvas here. And that was, in 2014? So we got a great deal on this lease because of the downturn and everything. And it was crazy how quickly the lease kind of came up, and we were like, I guess we need to expand.
Because
Right before COVID. It was perfect timing.
Yeah, it was
We expand the
amazing
office, and
timing.
everybody goes home.
Nailed it.
Yeah. It's great to have your first staff meeting in the big, huge conference room just to tell them that they're going to try to work from
stay
home
home
for
for
2 weeks.
stay home for
Remember
2.
that?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
said 2 weeks, and then 2 years
we'll
later.
try 2 weeks, and we'll just kind of play by ear, guys.
Well, a lot of them still aren't. They're still home. There's still
Yeah.
a lot of them that haven't come back.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the beauty of that's the only thing that kind of came out of the pandemic that works well, especially with our team. The work-life balance, I mean, these guys work 24/7, and so it's great
Yeah.
to,
And-
have that balance.
Yeah, and I'll just say that, like, tooting some horns here, but this office jumped on the ability to work from home very quickly. When COVID started, everybody got set up and everybody had the ability. And I think a lot of people were trying to catch up to where we were. And I think it's just really worked out that it's going to be something that's going to be part of our office forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I distinctly remember our tech team, Bitwits, who we've used for years. We asked them like a week before everybody kind of got set up to set us all up remotely. And it was crazy because after a week we got all set up, and I called them just to see how they were doing, and they said they're completely backed up because everybody else trying
was
to
doing
do
it.
everything like a week, after. And I know Mark kept giving us warnings, and I'm rolling my eyes, and I'm just like, the sky is falling all the time with this man. But I mean, he watches it. He watches the market. He watches the news, and he knows what's going on. So,
Watches the trends.
Yep, you're teaching us things always.
It's a little different perspective when you're in business for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you noticed that the three of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim, you're just getting this new
It's
perspective.
all pretty new to me.
But you're seeing it, aren't you?
Yeah,
It's a big difference.
absolutely.
I mean, the probably the hardest part of it all is you can't turn it off. You're always thinking about it. You're always worried in the back. There's that fear factor, And the four of us haven't really been through a downturn. You and I have been through a downturn together, Evelyn.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It was fun. Yeah, I can't wait to do it again.
When you don't have a choice, I mean, you just kind of have to ride the wave, right?
Yeah, and
So-
part of it you have to figure out things as you go, and you gotta adapt. And it's when COVID happened, it's like you said, Meredith. I mean, we quickly adapted,
Very quickly.
and like you said, a lot of firms were looking at us and how did they do that so fast? But we started working from home before they made it mandatory.
Well, it was kind of a test, and we thought, let's try it and see how it goes and find the bugs in the system.
Right.
And there weren't a whole lot, but we had some time to work those out. And sure enough, 2 weeks later, it was like everything shut down.
Right.
But we were all ready,
We
set
were
up
already
at our
rolling.
homes, and just kept churning out the work.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember March 13th, I was going up to Sedona, and my husband, Scott, was working with he works with Wells Fargo, and they had a conference call basically saying, we're going to test this out. And we were set up remotely. And I was just like, thank God we're set up remotely, because if Wells Fargo is saying we're just going to test this out, then that means they know something way more than we do,
Right.
So...
And who knows with the world now? I mean, it's just crazy.
I know.
I feel like the world's gotten even crazier than in 2019, 2020.
I think everybody's trying to play catch up now. They think that the world kind of froze for a year, and now they're just kind of panicking of, okay, I got to get this going, because it's been a year of quarantine, and really 2 years, because 2021 was kind of a hit or miss on whether we were working remotely or not. So
Right. Well, I think the thing that this has proven to me, at least, life is very short, and we all work our butts off. We spend a lot of time at work. And the one thing that we preach around here is inspiring living. That's our tagline. That's something we all feel very passionate about. And I think that's one thing that we've embraced as a company is, we've got the tours, we got the cooking. We really try to make the process of designing a home for our clients a memorable experience. And just recently, we just had a great dinner with one of our clients from Greensboro, North Carolina. They flew his whole entourage in to play golf, and it was his 50th birthday. And we could not have had more fun that night. You were here, Evelyn.
yeah, it was a great group. I mean, you see the friendships that they've had. They've known each other for years because of their kids. And so it was really cool to see, I want to say, 5 couples travel together.
Yeah.
And then we got to meet the clients' daughters. And I mean, they were so interested in the 3D home that you guys were doing. And it's just incredible. You get to meet a lot of people in this industry. So.
Well, and I think what's really helped us accomplish that is this addition of this kitchen that we're all sitting in here tonight. We had a small kitchen in George's office, which I always realized that's where everyone always gathered. And then we did our Italy tours, which, Evelyn, you and Tim have been on. And, that day when we do the cooking class, it's always the most magical day because we spend the whole day, the whole afternoon in the kitchen
That
cooking.
is the best day.
It's the best day. And so it's like from those whole experiences, I said, we really need to put a full-blown kitchen in the office where we can entertain our clients, have our company events, hang out with our staff, and our clients love it.
They do love it, and our staff loves it.
Yeah.
We've had such good feedback, and it acts just as a kitchen in your home does. Granted, we're just getting to use it more because we're back in the office after
Right.
COVID, but today was a great example. the four of us sat around and had lunch at at the peninsula here and caught up. Like each of us were working, each of us were eating, but like, talking about the day. It was just like a home.
Just
So
like being
it's,
at home.
yeah,
It's really cool. And I know we had like a dinner here, I don't know, about a month or so ago with Brimley Development. And I think the thing that I find here, we could have went out to dinner with Brimley or whoever, and the way you behave, the conversation that you have is totally different around your kitchen than it is if you're in a restaurant. Do you
Right.
notice that?
right.
I mean, I just think, and people open up, they let their guard down a little bit better. And that's one thing I've loved about getting clients over here. They really kind of just relax. And so that's one thing that I've just loved about
Yeah.
this.
Where you're not being rushed out because somebody wants
No.
your table.
Right. You don't feel that. It's like, well, that's been our other problem is people never want to leave. And I got to make sure I have enough wine.
Nights get late sometimes.
Yeah. We've
Well,
gone out here a little late a few times.
And I don't know if I'm just getting old, but restaurants seem to be louder now.
Yeah. Way louder. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Or
we're getting
am I
old.
just getting
We're
old?
getting old.
And the portions are getting smaller and the prices are going up. It's like, why am I doing this? I could do this whole dinner for a third of the cost and have twice as much fun at home or at the office. I mean, I call it home. See, it's
basically
subconscious. So that's one thing I've loved. The other thing that we've brought on, and we're actually going to be celebrating our 20th year of doing it, are our tours. And I know that the tours have been pretty eventful events in our life. Tim, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I got engaged on one of these tours. But it was so much fun, and having everything all figured out, and you just sort of need to participate, and there's all this flexibility for, I was part of a couple that went, but there's this freedom for you to do your own thing, but there's also this itinerary of all these amazing things that you can do during the day and at night, and all these places that, Mark, you've kind of figured out. And I had been to some of these places before as a student, but it was a whole nother ball game to come as an adult and to come with a partner. And then, of course, I had all these plans to propose, and they weren't thwarted, even though I lost my luggage.
That's right. Well, you orchestrated it perfectly. If I remember right, you proposed up on the Duomo, right?
Yep.
In Firenze.
But that morning when I proposed that idea of climbing all those stairs, my wife Amber said, well, what if we just went to the museum instead?
A little bit easier,
I
right?
pushed really hard for this hike, and eventually she found out why.
Well, it was beautiful, and then we had dinner that evening in the plaza there.
We didn't say a word to anybody, and we just waited to see who noticed the ring on Amber's finger, and Isabel was the first to see it, and she kind of announced it to everybody, and that dinner that night was a real celebration right at the base of the Duomo,
and virtually the second night on the trip. So it really kicked things off really nicely, and it was just a great memory, which we all caught on film, which was great because we have that moment captured.
But I had to buy new clothes. Luckily, the ring was in my carry-on.
Oh, gosh. You're lucky you didn't lose that thing. So then, Evan, you came on a couple of our tours. I know you were on the tour where you orchestrated our entire wedding
Yeah.
for Isabel and I.
Yeah, that was the first trip to Lake Como, right?
Yeah. That was amazing. I don't know how you pulled that one off.
Well, the bride was pretty much like just perfect. Like she was so going, and she was like, yeah, whatever you decide. So I was like, okay, well, we're just going to roll with this,
Well, you did a great job. I mean, I don't think you could have put together a more memorable day for us. We watched that video that you and your husband shot for us. I mean, it's just one of our best moments
well, that's
ever.
Villa d'Este. That's all their work, and that's why we keep going to them. They just take care of us, and
It's incredible. We're going there this year.
yeah, we're really excited to. I think Matthew is going in our team,
Yep.
and man, this kid could use a break, and so we're
Is he
excited
bringing
to.
his girlfriend?
Yeah, he is, but no pressure. We're not going to do anything,
There we go.
But I think it's a once in a lifetime trip for both of them, and I think Matthew totally deserves it. So shout out to our guy Matthew.
He's gonna have fun.
Yeah, we got as an intern, right?
Another intern from
Yeah?
the U of A.
I tell you, man, these interns are just phenomenal. So we just love getting them, and I would say in just you being 40 years of experience in architecture, what would you say to these graduates out there? What would you suggest to these guys?
Well, I'd say if they haven't graduated yet, just to drop out and start working.
Great advice.
You just go into debt for no reason. I mean, we'll put you to work and you'll be an architect and forget all that stuff.
So
but
what
on a
would
positive note,
what would
about
you say,
hard
like,
work and
yeah.
Well, yeah.
What would you say interview
experience?
experience, like their interview? Like, what would you say, when you went to George Christiansen, you were just like, this is my work. I will work.
Well, I think we
let
all
it
know.
try it out.
I think we all know. We want to see the passion in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see that this is more than just a job to them.
Yeah.
Like the interns we
Absolutely.
have right now,
Are
they've really
incredible.
proven to be go-getters, to like bring something to the table that we don't have in our office. I'm very impressed with the
Very
interns we
impressed.
have in the office.
Christian's about to graduate. So proud of him. Anise is such a go-getter. She's growing so much.
From day one,
Yeah.
they've been really shown
I
that
hate
they
to
have
say
the spirit.
kids because, again, it makes us sound old, but
They'll
that's
love
the way
that.
of the world,
So, Tim, were you ever an intern? I mean, I know we hired you from college, but were you an intern before that?
No, I worked in an architecture firm, but I was making physical models, chipboard, cardboard models.
Oh, man.
Okay, what about you, Meredith?
Yeah, I actually interned at Knoyer Hedrick here
Oh, yeah.
for a summer, and then interned at a residential architecture firm in Chicago called
Okay.
Liederbach. Yeah, but at Canoria Hedrick, I did hospitality, and that was so important because I was like, I'm never doing.
You didn't want to do that again.
Well, not hospitality. Sorry, I did hospitals.
Yeah.
Oh,
Big
that's
difference.
big
Big difference. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was
that's
doing
different.
hospitalities. I love. We're doing that. Hire us for that. But hospitals, no, because I was doing morgues and I was like, this is
geez.
awful. So then I got into residential work and I loved it.
You liked it a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in terms of tours, though, you haven't been on any of our
No,
tours yet.
I'm going to be going in a couple months.
On the Spain tour.
I am. Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
I am so excited. I've only spent a couple days in Spain traveling really quickly through. I think I did it in 3 days.
Where'd you go?
We went to San Sebastian.
Okay.
And then I think I went to Barcelona.
Okay.
And that was
Two
it.
great places. Well,
But
that's good.
yeah, but very quickly. So I am really looking forward to
You're
it.
gonna love it. You're doing the whole trip.
Doing the whole trip, and I haven't done a trip like this in such a long time for lots of reasons. So we are looking very much forward to
We're
it.
gonna look
It's so
Mhm.
hard to explain the tours to the staff and, to be quite honest, even to the travelers. It's just, hey, the only thing I can tell you is just come, because you're going to experience just such an amazing trip with the group, and it's so well thought out by Mark that, I mean, you don't have to really plan anything. So
I sent the itinerary to friends, and everybody is so jealous.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mhm.
that's the goal. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Yeah. We wanna keep everyone
Oh
on
yeah,
edge.
no, I'm totally bragging. That's what this whole thing is about.
No, it's going to be awesome. So we're excited about the tours. We've done a lot of cooking in here, and you're a good cook. I know you won that cook-off. Was it for Lux, or who was it for?
What was it? It was the
It was
subs.
Lux.
Was it Lux? Yeah,
Yeah.
like it
It
was
was Lux.
Lux Sub Zero. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard that was rigged.
No, she did an amazing job.
So you're a good cook. I know you love to barbecue and smoke and grill.
Lots of things,
and,
yeah.
you're amazing. So, we got to just do more of this whole cooking thing. It's another thing we've loved doing in this kitchen. And I definitely want to get you guys a little more involved in some of these virtual cooking classes we do. So we'll be doing some more of those.
We got to kind of, get used to the kitchen. It's been kind of your territory, so we don't want to step on anybody's toes. But,
Come on.
after the dinner on Friday, I think I'm ready. I'm ready to cook.
Let's do it. So then the other thing that's always been a big part of our company and organization is giving back to the community. And that is one thing I am extremely, extremely proud of with our firm, and how much we all collectively do to help each other and help the community. And the one project that stands out right now is the one you're working on, Tim, the Colton Cal Cave, the Cave of Compassion, I think it's called. You'll correct me. What is it?
That was way wrong.
Okay, so I knew that's why you're here. Keep me straight.
It's a monument to compassion.
There you go. Monument to
That's
compassion.
way better.
That sounds way better than a cave to compassion. That's the things where I used to go to when I was in high school.
But the Colton Cowell Foundation is amazing. Charles is a great friend to practically everybody he meets, but especially Mark and I. He came to us one day and said, I've lived in the addition that Mark did for me years ago, and I'm happy with it. Don't want to make any changes, but this is what I've been up to over the last couple of years, and you might think that it's a little strange, but I bought a Batmobile, and I thought I don't want to be a guy that just has a Batmobile in my garage that nobody else gets to appreciate. So he reached out to some charities, and he said, what do you think? Here's my idea. We have a family with a child that's battling a disease. Can we figure out a way for them to have a family barbecue or something? And then all of a sudden the Batmobile would show up, and Santa in full regalia would be in the driver's seat, and then his co-pilot Charles would be in the passenger seat, and then they would get to take everyone for a ride around the block and just bring some joy. And so that was the initial idea, and then it's just grown and grown and grown into what he's doing now, and then his vision for the future, which is pretty impressive. But what we do, I say we because I'm also a volunteer.
Well, you're on the board too, aren't you?
I'm the vice chairman of the board. But my greatest role is as a volunteer, and it's just like I said, we bring a family in there that has a child that's battling disease or possibly in remission or something from a very serious ailment, and we bring them to our facility. They don't know much about it, and we're just promising them a night of fun.
Yeah,
and
it's incredible.
Mr. Wayne's limousine pulls up at their house and brings them, and it's 2 hours of fun that they'll probably never forget in their entire life. And to date, we've done that magical experience for 690 families, and
that's amazing.
We work with charities all over Arizona, all over the country, and we've given out grants of $1.6 million to small local charities to continue their mission and not have to fundraise.
You're making a difference.
That's
a huge difference. And the Monument to Compassion, now that I got that straight, what is it?
It's a little bit of a museum. It's a little bit of a fun house. It is the headquarters of a foundation. It's very hard to classify.
But you're in the process of designing it and putting it together, and it's going to be built someday.
Yeah, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be able to sort of amplify the work that we're currently doing now and reach so many more families.
It's basically the facade of the Bruce Wayne Manor, right?
Yes, but what lies inside is, full of secrets.
Okay, there we go. Can they keep you guys on your toes? So.
And talked about these kids that you help out and just make a day out of. I mean, how resilient are these kids? It's just incredibly humbling.
They don't know what to expect, and they're often a little shy because there's all these people that are looking at them just because we're trying to celebrate this kid, and a kid and their family get to invite a handful of guests to attend this, but of course they don't know anything about it. So they show up, and aunts and uncles and cousins are there cheering them on, and then there's a couple of hours where just that one kid gets celebrated as a superhero.
It's pretty cool.
And by the end of it, they feel like a superhero, and they're given a couple of special gifts that I don't want to give away, but they've been doing this for years, and we've heard stories from families that, one family's home was burglarized, and out of everything that this kid has on this earth, he was concerned about the gift that Mr. Wayne gave him and whether or not it was still there, and it wasn't there, but Mr. Wayne replaced it.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Pretty cool.
That's just incredibly touching. I mean, shout out to Charles Keller, man.
Well, shout out to you too, Tim.
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of our superheroes. Let's put it
yeah.
that way.
I say, just experiencing it with my mom, and I got to volunteer with Tim because he invited us, and he's opened it up. Everybody's had an opportunity to volunteer with Tim. I mean, we both came back, came out of it totally moved and touched, and we were just there to help out for the day.
It's a life-changing event for pretty much
Everyone.
anybody that experiences it.
Yep.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to volunteer, just reach out to us. We have tons of space for volunteers,
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of information on our website too. So just check it out. And Meredith, you're involved in lots of things. I mean, you're getting involved now with Habitat.
Yeah, which I'm really excited about. I mean, just watching you the other day at the dedication was just really like inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great organization.
Great
and,
organization.
Something that does a lot of great work for the community here in our state and across the country. So I'm looking forward to broadening my involvement with them.
You're on everybody's radar based on the party I was at on Saturday. So they're like, well, who's this Meredith? We want her more involved. So it's awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's great.
It's great. And I know, Evelyn, you're involved in a lot of community things overall for the office. I mean, you're in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's my job just to kind of connect people with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, everybody who ends up being a part of these, volunteering or doing work, they end up becoming, board members.
Yep.
You became a board member for Habitat, and
Yep.
they reached out to you and asked you. And Damon became a board member of Gigi's Playhouse.
I'm on Scottsdale Center
Him.
for the Arts.
Yeah.
So-
So, I mean, honestly, it's just whatever our community needs. We're just open for it.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done a lot with the food bank, St. Mary's Food Bank
St.
over
Mary's
the
Food
years.
Bank.
That's probably one of my favorite kind of company events that we do. I mean, the Diamondbacks games are fun.
Yep.
The happy hours are even more fun because it's just like you said, everybody kind of loosens up because we're not in a restaurant waiting for a table to
Right.
get taken from us. But the work at St. Mary's Food Bank is so much fun because they'll play music over the loudspeaker, and we're kind of in this
in a zone.
assembly line of putting together these packages for these families, and we're always competitive. So we're trying to see who can do the most, the fastest, and at the very end, they always tell us how many packages we put together and what that equates to for numbers of families.
It's amazing.
And the meals that are served based on our afternoon's worth
Yeah.
of work, and it's usually followed with a happy hour.
Exactly.
But that's always super rewarding and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this summer we did feed our starving children.
I was
and
just going to say
was
that.
Amazing. I mean, honestly, that's something that even your kids should volunteer for.
Yeah, Evelyn, you've done such a great job of organizing. So it's also giving back to the community, but also an opportunity for our staff to get together and get to know each
Team
other better
building.
and
Yeah,
team building.
They
and
need a
some-
break from,
and-
just looking at their computer screen.
Yeah, and Feed My Starving Children was new to us, and it is so well organized, and it was another great night of just spending a couple hours, and in 2 hours we're able to provide meals for I don't even remember, but it was like
I think it was like 500
It's more
kids
than you
in
think.
the Philippines.
yeah in the Philippines it was, and they show you where it's going. So
Yeah.
those kind of experiences are
Well, I got
promoted in our
started with
office.
that with I was volunteering with my friend. Her daughter was turning, I think, like 11, and that's the only thing she wanted to do for her birthday. And it's just like incredible how big this kid's heart was. So we did that for her birthday, and I mean, our kids did it, and they were just, it's an eye opener for our kids to say, wait, so they don't have food? And so it was very humbling, but I mean, we
they have a
just-
cool market too where they sell goods and
yeah, it was really cool to do
Yeah.
everything. My son broke a mug the last time we were there, and I was like, I'll take that mug. That sounds great.
Well, I think that's something that we're all proud of, is the fact that we are involved in the community. We all give back. I know how hard we all work, a lot of hours, but I know I always feel like this is something I can do to just get out of the shell of working all the time
Yeah, I
and make a difference,
And everyone in our crew, they don't hesitate. They're like, yeah, we can do this. Or we can volunteer to design Habitat for Humanity's restore facility.
Yeah.
There's just, without hesitation, considering the amount of hours we all work, I love how big our hearts are with that.
Well, Elevate, like that
It was
whole
another
day.
great- that
Oh
was
my
a fun
gosh.
day.
I mean, we could have a whole podcast on that whole day that was organized for Elevate Phoenix.
Talk about
Yep.
changing the world.
But once again, I came out of that day saying, this is why you slow down and you take these opportunities, because not only was it, I I could only gather from the kids that were involved because they were asking lots of questions. They were engaged. It seemed like everybody was really inspired, but it rejuvenated our office. I think everybody in our office loved to be a part of it, loved to be able to give back to the community, loved to participate. So it was a win.
fun.
It was a win-win for everybody.
It was a great day, for
Tom
sure.
Lehman and Jasmine Hall. I mean, they do such an incredible job doing, organizing these programs. And everybody forgets what happens to kids after they graduate high school. Where do they go from there? And they kind of, they don't know what they want to do. And
Especially the ones that don't go to college.
yeah. And
know?
so
Or know what the opportunities are.
Right.
yeah. So it's humbling to do, a program where we can educate them and say, not only can you be an architect, but here are the engineers that work on this program
Right.
or work on our home.
Right.
And how many people, are involved in just building a home. It's crazy.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think that's the thing that I love about this whole career is it's so much more, like I said, than just drawing a set of plans. I mean, when I look at all the different avenues that this career has opened up for me, it's mind-boggling that a little kid from Durango, Colorado, that whose dad worked on the railroad, could end up doing the things that we've been doing.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. So,
Which is possibly an identical story to one of the kids that went through this experience. And, some of us were fortunate to have people in our lives that kind of pointed us in a direction.
Yeah.
They saw something that we had and pointed us in the right direction. And it's possible that one of those kids we could interview in 10 or 20 years as the owner of an architecture firm. And
Yep.
you'd say, well, how did you get your start? And they would say, there was one day where I went to an architect's office and just found out that was a job.
I could do something like that. No, that's what it takes. And sometimes it's just like you said, creating the vision. Giving these kids the vision. They don't see the houses that we do.
Yeah.
Most people don't see the houses
Yeah.
that we do.
And 90% of the population, I mean, they think of architecture, they think, they just design skyscrapers, but
Or
nobody,
shopping centers.
yeah, or shopping center or hospitals.
All right, so Tim, what's been
worst.
your favorite project in the time you've been here? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I would say that it's probably the historic El Charro Lodge for some of the reasons you just mentioned. That I know your analogy, which is true, that our work is out there for the public to enjoy versus, the accountant that does a perfect tax return that nobody can appreciate. It's great work, but nobody gets to appreciate it. But some of our homes are behind gated communities, or some of our favorite parts are inside the house.
Well,
not
I
outside
know
the
why you
house.
picked El Charro, because you got engaged in Florence, but then you got married at a project you designed.
Well, that's not exactly why. It's because it turned out so well, and that's because of the team that we had to put together to execute it. It all starts with a client that,
Had a great vision,
and
passion for what that property was all about.
and that now the whole general public can go and experience it versus a home that, is a
Handful of people maybe see.
right. And so, as I was climbing the ladder in this company, I got the job to go in and measure every single room in the existing the old El Charro Lodge, and I'm pretty sure it was the summertime, and
It was.
not all of those rooms were air conditioned, but I
we
was
did that on purpose for you.
I was that person that went in and measured every room to create the initial plan of the facility, and that's how we started planning for what became of it.
Right.
And I was just one of the members of the team, but it turned out really, really well, and I was happy with it. And yes, when it came time to have our wedding ceremony, it was one of the places that we looked at, but it meant something special as opposed to some hotel ballroom or something.
I was
Right.
just looking at your wedding pictures the other day because it's kind of pops up around the anniversary.
That's
It was
creepy.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it is creepy.
It is coming up, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. that's what I
April
thought.
1st.
April 1st. That's right. Remember that. Well, that's a great memory, and that is definitely, if you heard the podcast with Berghoff and Donna Vallone and Walter, I mean, we spoke about El Charro quite often. It's just, I think it's a project that when we look back at it, it was also during a very difficult time in the economy, and that project kept a lot of people in business. So it has that memory for me too. It was, just a great project, especially during a period of time that I was going through some really tough stuff, and I was really fortunate to have that project to work on. So you remember that, Evelyn?
Oh yeah. I mean, any investor could have just demoed it and just, built something,
Yep.
monstrous, I guess.
Yep.
And so it was very, I don't know, cosmic that all
Just
happened.
happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it
it
was
was
great.
very motivating for us and, just to be a part of that, right?
Yeah, it was. And it's a marquee project and will be for forever. So I think we're very blessed to have worked on something like that, Tim, especially with our good buddy Jeff Kramer. So good memories. What about you, Meredith? What's one of your favorite projects?
I mean, to be honest with you, Mark, it's really hard for me to say because when I reflect back on the 9 years so far, the variety of projects.
Yeah.
And when you're working here, everything is so unique and so interesting. I mean, from the first project, the Mountainside project that involved dynamite and, tunneling in through the mountain.
I just threw you right in there with the sharks, didn't I?
That one's pretty memorable. But then, working for Larry Fitzgerald, the opportunities
cool.
here. And then I love working on that. But then I love working on these historic remodels that we get to do. So there's a lot of memorable, but I have to say that each project here brings something different.
Yeah, and it's the people too, right? The clients.
God, it's just
it's not just the project itself.
No.
It's the relationship. It's the memories. It's
Mm-hmm.
the creativity. It's the people you're working with. It's the
Yeah.
people out in the field
yeah.
and what gets accomplished with them. That's what I love about it. Is
Too.
the more you can get everyone engaged in the spirit of what you're creating and the pride of what you're creating, those projects just come out so great. You
Yeah.
know? And that's what I love. I love working with the subs when you see their eyes light up when they get to show off what they can really do. And we give them the opportunity because we come up with some pretty creative stuff. And then they look at it and go, oh, my God, this is so cool. I want to do this, because it shows off their ability.
It's fun to see some of our work on websites of
Other people.
of subcontractors.
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's the best, right?
It's fun getting to know some of the framer. I've built relationships with these framers and stuff now, and just it's just nice having those when they're your guys' plans, your
best.
homes. Yeah, your homes are so much fun to build. that inspire that makes
inspires us.
me
Fired
excited
up.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, then when you get the next plans on your desk and you start sketching and doodling, don't you just feel this all this database of these great memories
Yeah.
help you produce the next memory,
Yeah.
right? That's what I love about it. Okay, so we talked about these beautiful creations that Tim talked about, El Charo, all these projects that you did. What's your favorite invoice you ever did, Evelyn? to get to use the Tim's paraphrase.
I'm going to redirect that question and say, okay, 40 years, get ready. What is your favorite project? Give me your top 5.
My favorite, well, El Charo is definitely one of them. In the 40 years, which would include my years with George Christiansen, obviously Enchantment is a good one. The Ulrich residence, just because of my relationship with Don, bless his heart, passed away this last year, and Sharon Ulrich. I was so young when I did that project, and that gave me the confidence because of all the things we did with Desert Star and the cabinet company out of Kansas City. It was very, very complicated.
And knowing
turned out
Don,
great.
I'm sure he pushed you.
Oh, yeah. He pushed me. And then in terms of guys who pushed me, another guy would be Frankie.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
Mr. Frankie's an incredibly tough guy. And but, what I've learned from a lot of these clients is the tougher clients have been some of my best clients in terms of teaching me how to persevere and learn and just, have the confidence. I mean, after you work with a Bill Frankie, you pretty much feel you can do anything, And I hope you're listening to this, Bill, because I think the world of you, but you are one tough cookie. But I love what we created with you, and I always love the opportunity when I get to see you. And that house is just absolutely incredible on the mountain there. So that's
I think you've learned a lot from the Colangelos.
Mr. and Mrs. Colangelo. We talked about that with Walter and Jeff and Donna. Great people. I've had the chance to work with them on a couple projects. The list is long.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald, Phyllis Lerner. That project. Talk
Lee
about
Hanley
perseverance.
and-
The
oh, man.
Hanleys.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to have a long list. And now we're doing projects all over the country, which is very exciting. You just mentioned our clients who flew in from Greensboro.
Yep.
We just signed the retainer on a contract in Jamaica. We're doing a cool project in Cabo San Lucas. It's amazing, to think where we've come from since Lulu and Nacho.
Yeah. Well, and then our clients, they do incredible work outside of, obviously what we're doing for them. And I think what's such a great opportunity is we get to meet these people and they just teach us so much too.
Yeah. They bring us into their lives.
Don't you feel you're constantly learning?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Between
do you ever
the clients and the subs.
I'll tell you, there's never been like one family that I've met and they're like, oh, that's exactly like what this project is. Like everybody brings in, it might be the style might be the same, but how people live and what their lifestyle is so different. So each, like, it's amazing how like
it's
each
like a
project,
trip.
it is.
I always equate it to a tour. Okay,
something new.
I'm going on a tour. And this
I mean,
is gonna be exciting
everything has been different, right?
Yeah.
Every.
Have you ever been bored?
No.
Tim, are you bored?
Nope.
Like that's one thing you don't have to worry about is being bored, right?
It's so exciting,
and
learning
every
personalities
day,
and
no 2 days are ever the same, ever, not even close, right?
What's important to one person is different to the next, and we're here to hear it all.
And you're here to figure it out.
Yeah.
Figure out what it is. So if you could design anything, Meredith, what would it be?
Well, this might not be like super, but this is super exciting, but it's something on my bucket list that I would love to do. So I always thought when I moved back to Arizona, I would love to, I love being on the outdoors. Mm-hmm. So I love something that like a retreat that I can get to close to here. And I'm a lake person. I'm a water person. So I like woods. I like lake. I've always wanted to do like a really cool, like A-frame cabin out in the woods. So that's
cool.
But so for me, that's my personal goal. Like, so I want to design something like a cool escape, cabin type situation.
Would it have a drafting board or a laptop?
Drafting board.
And that's what I love about you.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you remember, we had those clients where we were working with them for a home in Scottsdale for their kind of fly in, fly out house. But they also had that cattle ranch up in Montana or Wyoming. Yeah. I think it was Wyoming. And you flew up there one time for a meeting, and I flew up there another time. But the time that you went up there, if you remember, I'm sure you do, you got in their helicopter, and he flew you through their own little personal, almost like Sedona Canyon.
Oh, it was incredible.
And he said that, once we're done with the, what was it, probably 8 different buildings that we were doing on their ranch, that he'd really like to do a cabin out on this point.
Up on top of the cliffs.
Where 2 canyons joined into one, and he said, you can only get here by helicopter.
Right.
So showing up my cabin.
Every bag of concrete would have to be brought by helicopter, and, you could only get there by helicopter. So, but that would just be an amazing place to design and build. And
mine has a helicopter too.
A little helicopter A-frame. Well, I have the feeling that just based, again, on my 40 years, we haven't even begun to see what we're going to be designing. I wouldn't be surprised someday we're designing something on Mars. So you never know. And we got the whole metaverse to design in. Who knows what we could do there.
Man, what are the restrictions on Mars? Or the city processes? Or
the permit?
I'm already looking into it.
How long does it take?
Oh, man.
Your plans have been rejected. Please submit these to the county of Mars.
We haven't heard this one before. This is good.
So what would you design if you could design anything?
Oh, God. I didn't even think about this on my side. That's a good question. I like the idea of the metaverse. I really do want to do a couple houses in the metaverse, only because we could do whatever we want. And it could be ongoing, so we just keep adding rooms and adding experience. You go through a door, and the next door takes you to who knows what, And we can do whatever we want. We don't have to worry about codes or permits.
Your creativity is
just endless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think people would love to go into our Candelaria Design metaverse and see what's next.
I think we need to put a poll up on
Let's do
social
it.
media and
Let's
see
do
what
it.
the vote is.
That would be cool.
So what do you see changing in the next 10 years, Mark, for homes?
Well, it's hard to say. I think homes will have to get smaller. I mean, I think there's always going to be the uber wealthy. They're going to build just these crazy, 80,000 square foot homes with basketball courts and space launched, drone airports, and who knows what it's going to be.
Wouldn't that be cool?
See? But what I think is going to happen, I think with technology, you're really not going to need that big of a footprint to enjoy the process of living. So I think, between the metaverse and who knows what they're going to have, but you may be able to occupy a small amount of space and have a full experience, So getting some weird vibration here. Sorry about that. So I think that's going to happen. I think building materials, something's got to give. I mean, lumber and all these things are just getting mega expensive. We just did the 3D printed house, and who knows where that technology can lead us. So I think it's important for us as architects. I think we've always, as architects, been innovators and people who've looked beyond what is being done now to what can be done in the future. And I think we have the opportunity to really express that in some cool ways. And I think there's clients that want to explore a little bit. I don't like my clients to be the guinea pig necessarily. I like to kind of see what everyone else does and then learn from it.
Well, we tell, the clients about the 3D home, like, hey, it's expensive right now, but it's a new technology, and every new technology, you got to test it out. I mean, it's the same thing with a new software. If I tell the staff, hey, we have a new software program,
I'm waiting for smell-o-vision. That's what I'm waiting for, smell-o-vision. When we can do one of these, Lumion experiences where you go through, but not only do you see it, but you smell it, you hear it, you
the
taste
schnozberries
it.
smell like schnozberries.
Wouldn't that be cool? So I mean, I can't believe what we do now compared to what I was doing 40 years ago when I was running the ammonia blueprinter machine, and you had to fish everything through. Everything was on Mylar with ink.
I did that too. It smelled, and I was like in a little closet
I'd
area.
go home and smell like ammonia.
Yeah.
So the people here now look at me like, "What are you talking about?" They don't have no clue. And we drew everything ink on Mylar, and we had the pin bars, and pin bars. What the hell is that? Where you go to drink? No, that's where we go.
The ink
to
on Mylar was unforgiving.
Cool.
Yeah, it was
with the
unforgiving.
rapidiographs, and So it's quite different now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to walk around with your iPad and sketch when you're anywhere is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we are so fortunate to have these clients that are kind of the leading people in all of their different individual industries, and they're so savvy, and they travel, and they've got great style, and we've got the challenging job of trying to improve their lives. Can you talk a little bit about something that I see of just designing smaller spaces, but just having impeccable detailing, and like the ego of having the biggest is kind of falling by the wayside. And I know I've learned a lot from being on Charles' boat, where every square inch just makes a difference.
Right.
And you put a lot of thought into the details, and then it doesn't have to be as big as it used to be.
Right. No, I think that's totally it. I think you nailed it on the head, Tim. I think that's my biggest gripe of contemporary architecture. I think 80% of it is horribly done. The 10% or 20% that's done well is impeccable and amazing. But I find it to be the lazy man style, because you can just throw up some walls and call it contemporary, and it's nothing. Whereas you look at some of the stuff that we have to do with a lot of detail and a lot of alignments and a lot of craftsmanship. What I think is going to happen is, as these craftsmen and subs get older and get out of the business, I think you're going to see a lot of the younger generation. It's going to be harder and harder to find people that can do that type of craftsmanship. And I think it's going to become coveted. It's going to become valuable. Like, who can do millwork like that? Who can do stone carving and detailing like that? All of a sudden, there's 4 people that can still do it,
I agree. I think it's a skill that if we can hold on to, will be so valuable.
I think it'd be so valuable.
I know people have turned away from it a little bit in a sense, but it's so beautiful, and it's such a valuable skill.
And I think it's coming back. I really
Yeah.
do. I think a lot of people are just tired of the vanilla, and they go, I need some detail,
Some richness.
I was like, okay, good luck finding it. But when you do, it's like, whoa, now this is something that no one else has. No one else has a fireplace that looks that incredible. It doesn't have to be overly ornate. Just
well done.
Just well done.
Well done.
Yeah, with some
You can
detail.
tell when things are put together well versus things that are just like slapped on.
Yep.
There's a difference.
It's a big difference. So that's the one thing I love to see is just great detail, smaller spaces. Just like Tim said, almost the boat jewel box. You know, it's impeccable. It's incredible. So that's one thing I really want to see happen is just more of that spirit, more of that understanding of value. So
Is there more of a trend with like, your parents living with you now, or a concern about that? Or
I've seen way more of that. I've seen a lot of like clients requesting that we do in-law suites that are either guest homes or, that can be doubled up as that. I'm seeing way more of that with older parents. It used to be like your kids coming in.
well, I think it's going to be both, to be
Now
honest with you.
it's
I think
like-
when I look at the cost of
yeah.
a home for
I think it's turning
my
into
kids,
more of a village.
I
at
don't
this
know how they
point.
can afford it.
Yeah.
You know?
People are making more like enclave type of
Yeah.
situation.
That's what I
Like
think- I
almost
think
like
that's
a
gonna
village
happen.
community.
Mhm.
I mean, even though, 5,000 square feet doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're spacing it out smart, it does. It's a huge space.
I think you're going to see houses become like pods.
Pods.
Where you have your collective gathering space, kitchen, living room, but then you have the parents, you have the kids, you have the grandkids, grandparents, and I think there's going to be a lot of that coming up. I really do. But it might not be 5,000. It might be 3,000 that you have to create that all in.
Yeah. Well done design.
Yep. And then it's going to be very important that it's well done design. You're exactly right. So let's say 10 years from now, when I'm celebrating 50 years in architecture, what do we think the future looks like for Candelaria Design? And describe your typical day in the year 2032.
Well, I think we've all lived almost 2 years of Zoom meetings
Yeah.
and working remotely, and that has its positives, but it certainly has its negatives. I think 10 years from now, the communication, the virtual communication is bound to be different and better. And I think we could literally be working from anywhere on the planet, and not just
Architects, we can.
yeah, not just talking, but drawing, manipulating a model.
Right.
You could push something, I could pull something, and it's all kind of on one model, and a lot more coordinated efforts from. You could be in Italy, and I could be at that.
We're already kind of doing that. I mean, in a lot of ways. I think what I worry about sometimes is the social economic, what's the word, separation, or, where people that can do that are perceived one way, and people that work at Burger King or, have to physically go do the work get perceived social economically in a different way. And I kind of worry about how that all starts shaking out. When you look at society, and there's guys that have to build the home. They can't Zoom to go lay concrete. They have to physically be there. And where does that guy live if a house costs $1,000 a foot? Where does he live to get to work to lay the concrete?
Well, there's some interesting trends that are happening with some of the contractors that we're working with, and one of them is this steel frame construction where you don't need to know necessarily like the ins and outs of the trades of like putting a wood stud frame construction
Right.
together, but it's all the pieces of steel are milled out, and it's almost like IKEA furniture. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
A, B,
incredible.
B, blah, blah. So it's if
Assembly's
you
really easy.
yeah, if you're there's these opportunities for people that have come out of prison that are like you need to like learn a job, but like no, it's like
Yeah.
you're being like assimilated back in given opportunities that you can be given a job very quickly, where
Right.
it's like you can assemble this, and I think there's just new technologies that are going to be like this, that with like the pricing from like lumber to steel, it's crazy that maybe steel is cheaper than lumber right now. I mean, things are kind of flipping
Yeah.
on their,
Yeah.
head
We don't
over-
know.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to adapt. I mean,
yeah.
that's gonna
So
be
I think
key.
there's adaptations that are going to be like, things move very quickly right now.
Yep.
So it'll just be interesting to see how we adapt to that.
Like
So in 10 years, are you and your A-frame sending us?
Yeah, well,
stuff
I'm vacationing at Tim's helicopter Montana cabin
on the cliff.
first.
how are you going to get there? Is he flying this helicopter?
You're not
We're
gonna
gonna.
I would probably trust George Catalano more.
You're not going to be in your personal drone and just fly over there?
probably.
Yeah. What about you, Ev? Where are you going to be 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I mean, I would not be surprised, especially with this 3D technology, that we make a change on a plan and it is effective immediately in, the field by some kind of, I don't know, some kind of gadget that we just started to perfect. I mean,
You don't know. I'm serious. But I look 40 years ago to what we're doing now.
I mean, it's scary, but at the same time, you think, okay, well, that's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. Not really, because who's going to handle the technology that is on the field? And, it's just this ongoing change that we just kind of have to keep up with. And I think the people that we currently work with, the subs and the vendors and, the builders that we work with, they're on top of their A game and they know this industry in and out. So they're going to tell us what changes they see. And we just got to kind of go with the flow and keep educating,
So anyway, I want to say thank you guys. This has been so much fun to share this 40th anniversary with the three of you. I could not be more proud to have you three as partners. And I'm sure if you've heard this podcast, it's pretty evident why these three are my partners. It's obvious. They're amazing people. They inspire me every day. I love working with them. I've loved watching them grow and become the people that they become and the architects that they become and the accountants they become and the HR managers they become and all the things you do every day for us, Evelyn, which is no one appreciates totally what Evelyn does for us. But because of her,
I'd like to keep it that way.
because of her, we can do so much, and it's great. So you three are amazing people. I love working with all of you, and I hope I can do it for many, many, many years. I do want to retire. I'm going to try to slow down.
You're not going to retire. I mean, it's something that you love to do, and as long as you keep on loving what you do, then, we won't kick you out.
To be a part, I mean, just listening to your whole history, Mark, and to be a part of this with you is like beyond words. So like, thanks for bringing us on board. I mean, on this huge journey, like this company you've built, it's exciting to be a part of. So thank you.
40 years of architecture. That's incredible. And
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like everything that you've done for us and with this company and even CCBG, I mean, you still keep great relationships with everybody too. So that's awesome.
It's been fun to just see the journey, and sit here now 40 years later and look back. It was so much fun to be with Brian and Dianne and just kind of relive some of those memories. Some of them I had forgotten. And then to be here with Tim. I remember the first day I met you and met, up there at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, whatever it was.
Was it just dinner with you three, you, Janine, and Mark, or was it other candidates?
There was another candidate.
Oh,
was there two candidates?
We won't speak about him.
Okay, so it was two of you that evening. I can't remember. I thought it was just you.
We're still hiring if you're still out
was
there.
So there was someone else at a dinner with us? See, I don't even remember him. So that obviously told me
that's
everything.
good.
Yeah, that told me everything I needed to know. And then I still remember the first time I met you, Meredith, when you walked in with your watercolors and your drawings, and I'm like, who is this
When
girl?
you were talking about you and George appreciating the sketch, I mean, I think that's what drew us together too.
Yeah, totally. And then Evelyn, I remember walking in, and you're there working
I'm
away.
your new temp.
And I was like, we got rid of the other person immediately after I met Evelyn. I said, that's it. She's got the job. The other person's out.
Ev, you're pretty amazing.
Well, I killed
She
all
is
the
amazing,
plants,
isn't she?
though, so I got in trouble for that.
You killed what?
I killed all the plants. I forgot to water them.
They were fake.
My bad.
They were fake. Yeah, I don't think they were living plants. So anyway, great job, you guys. Where can my listeners find you guys on social media or website or phone number? I know Walter gave out his phone number to everybody.
Did he really?
I think so. He just call me. I don't do social media. Just pick up the phone and call me.
Well, first and foremost, you can find me on the Candelaria website. After that, I'm on Instagram mostly at Meredith Thompson Architect.
Good job.
I'm at ebaton on Instagram. And, I'm going to do the Walter thing. Here's my phone number, 602-505-1946.
Give her a call. She'll answer it.
Sure.
Tim?
And I don't have a lot of time for social media, so I think I have a Facebook page, but I don't check it. I'm known in one big circle as Amber's husband and another big circle as Maverick's dad, and I'm really happy with that.
Those
That's
are
pretty good. That's
The
pretty
biggest
good.
important jobs that you have. And, you have an incredible family. All of you guys have incredible families.
We're very lucky. So thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you,
again,
Mark.
I look forward to the next 40 years with all three of you.
Hey, cheers. We
40
drank
years,
all of the wine.
I'd be 101. I can do it.
Prove it.
I can do it.
Well, we promised everybody that you were going to be here in a bathrobe, what was it, when you're 80, just scaring the crap out of the interns and just looking around saying, oh, you did it that way?
remember when we used to print with ammonia? All right, you guys, that was so much fun. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that this evening. I really appreciate it. 40 years, what do you think?
Does it go by fast for you?
Yeah, it's kind of scary thinking that was 40 years. But when I look back now, I go, holy crap, I did a lot. That was a lot of houses, a lot of stories. But it's great what I'm happy about is being right here, right now with the three of you.
Well, thank you for letting us be a part of it. It's been a great experience.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your book's coming out at the end of the
Yeah,
year.
get ready for my book. It's going to be pretty exciting.
So
Yeah,
that's very exciting.
All
well
right.
deserved.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ev, Meredith, and Tim. You guys rock, and I appreciate all you do for our team and our community. You are special people, and I could not be more excited about our partnership and this team. What I love most is the respect we all have for each other and the way this team communicates and shares, not only our victories, but our challenges. We, and I stress the word we, work together, and it's such a difference when you can get a group together that can do this and set their egos aside and think and do what's best for our clients and our team. I cannot even begin to imagine what this group will accomplish both while I'm here and when I'm long gone. So thank you, and God bless all three of you. Okay, we have some more fun and very inspiring podcasts in the works, including more podcasts with artists, chefs, realtors, branding experts, and a couple of our Candelaria Design 2021 MVPs, so stay tuned. We also have a few of our virtual cooking classes coming up, so stay tuned for some of those too. We got some good surprises in the works for you. Okay, I want to say a big thank you for the subscribes and reviews. Please take 5 minutes to give us a review, and if you do, we will enter you in our drawing where you will receive free round-trip airfare for our Candelaria Design tours. Seriously, you cannot lose here, especially with the way ticket prices are going up. So go right now and give us a rating and review along with a subscribe, and then email or direct message me that you did so, and we will get your name in the hopper for this drawing. We do our best to inspire living in everything we do, from our podcast to our cooking classes to our tours, and of course with our Candelaria Design homes. Okay, have a great week, everyone. Let's stay safe, and let's all live our lives with love, compassion, grace, and positivity. See you next week. Because Inspiring Living is all about the people and the organizations that inspire us, we are excited to have Monogram Appliances as one of our sponsors. Anytime we do a new kitchen or a kitchen remodel, Monogram Appliances are what we recommend to our client. Their appliances are the definition of luxury, meticulously detailed using the finest materials and an ownership experience that is second to none. This is how Monogram is always thinking ahead and inspiring and elevating the kitchen experience. Because at Monogram, they don't just elevate one thing, they elevate everything. I want to say a big thank you to my good friends at Stockett Tile and Granite Company, where your project is our priority. I want to thank the Stockett team, along with so many others who contributed to the success of our fabulous demonstration kitchen in our new Candelaria Design office expansion. You will have to check out online our video cooking classes, and our kitchen is amazing. I've had the pleasure of working with the Stockett team for nearly 40 years on many spectacular projects, and trust me, they are the epitome of excellence when it comes to tile, marble, and granite work, bar none. Their skill and customer service is impeccable, and the bottom line is they are just good people. I have traveled with and dined with and just had good times, both personally and professionally, with Dave Stockett and his lovely wife, Becky, and they are the best. When it comes to your next tile and stone project, make sure Stockett Tile and Granite is a part of your team. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our podcast. We encourage you to write a review, screenshot it, and share it with your friends. Please instant message it to me and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights to inspiring living next week.